Okay, just in the past few days, there was a big story that was emanating, or I don't know if it's really a big story, but it's technically coming from Turkey, where the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, dined at a restaurant that was owned by Salt Bae. Those of you that don't remember, Salt Bae has that. I don't know why it's so amazing. It's a fun looking video, but it's the one where he slices up that steak and then flicks the fucking salt over it. I mean, I guess it's made him successful enough. And people are saying, well, this is unacceptable. That the guy's name is Nusret Gürksha, or I don't know how you pronounce his name. It's Turkish. It's unacceptable. How can he allow such a tyrant into his restaurant? And apparently they're now boycotting his restaurant in Miami. Now, I want you guys to understand. I don't know if there's a lot of other people that are against the policies of Nicolas Maduro, against him personally, as myself. This is pointless. Okay, the guy who owns a restaurant, I don't think he really cares who comes in and eats at his restaurant. I know he kissed Maduro's ass. He kisses every guest's ass, probably. That's probably that's kind of how you do well in business. You know what? I think a good value for Maduro to learn would be how to kiss your customer's ass, because the guy's basically scared away literally every person who wants to do business in Venezuela. But they can hardly get companies to drill oil and export it from the country because he fucks with literally everybody who comes in there. It's like that's about all I have to say about the. I mean, I will talk a little about the boycott, but yeah, there's some other issues I want to discuss though. So you can see this video of these Venezuelan exiles, and yeah, they have. I mean, I'm sure they're pretty pissed off because they had to leave Venezuela because of of various reasons. Not just these are probably not the ones who left because of hunger. They were probably left because they couldn't they couldn't stand Maduro or Chavez back when they lived there because of professional issues or something. So they're leading Maduro, like they put somebody with a donkey mask as Maduro.
Who supports a dictator who is starving our country but goes and eats at very expensive restaurants and just without any shame at all. So we came here to protest as people in our country are not able to freely express themselves. So we take advantage of the opportunity that this country gives us to come and support our ideas.
Yeah, so they're saying close it down, and there's actually a subtitle on it there anyway. But look, I think the protest is kind of pointless. I guess they didn't vandalize anything, which is fine. It says outrage on the internet may be hard to quantify, but not on the sidewalk outside Salt Bae's restaurant in Brickell Wednesday, where protesters yelled, red-faced with tears in their eyes, litany of chants that rhyme better in Spanish. Ignorant chef, you support a fraud. So, yeah, I don't know how that would sound. Rained down as about 100 Venezuelans mounted a midday protest of celebrity Turkish chef Nusret Gürksha. Earlier this week, Gürksha hosted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro at his Istanbul restaurant and posted video of the lavish meal to his 15.7 million Instagram followers. Wow. While reports say nearly a third of Maduro's countrymen go without food at least once a day. So, yeah, I think that there is a humanitarian crisis going on in Venezuela, and we should at least acknowledge that. There are, I don't know if it's the worst crisis in the world, but it is a crisis that was entirely avoidable because this is a government that simply it wants to do whatever it wants to do, regardless of whether it's going to help people. So yeah, that's about it as far as the Salt Bae. I mean, let's show the video though. It is kind of an interesting video. Yeah, it's a typical Salt Bae video where he's doing all the. You see him wearing that stupid bib with him spreading the salt, smoking a stogie. He's got his wife there. So why are people, so to speak, pissed off about this? Again, I think it's the anger is misplaced towards Salt Bae because, I mean, who gives a fuck if this guy, he has all of his customers come into the restaurant. I think he's if he does agree with Maduro, that just means he's a moron. But the real issue here is that you have a leader of a country that constantly proclaims that he's in it to help the people. And he's going to swanky elite restaurants over in Turkey and just living it up at the expense of the Venezuelan people that he supposedly represents. And to be clear here, I know that every world leader. Okay, let's try to be objective here. I know I've already admitted that I don't like Maduro. Let's try to be objective here. Whether you're the president of India or the president of or the king of Thailand or the prime minister of Thailand, yes, you are living and going around and eating with the elites. And you go there, you go on a foreign trip. Let's say you're the prime minister of Thailand. You go on a trip to Indonesia. You're not going to be eating at some taco stand or whatever the fuck they have in Indonesia. You're going to be eating probably the highest grade of food that you can get there. But typically, this is where I think we should remember what's important here. Maduro was not at this restaurant on official business. He was not there meeting with the president of Turkey, to my knowledge. I mean, because the president of Turkey is not in the video. So this is him. And apparently what he was there doing was he'd come back from a trip to China to ask for more money because his country is teetering on the edge of basically defaulting on a lot of loans. And what does he do? He stops in Turkey and eats at this celebrity chef's restaurant and mugs for the camera and blah, 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 and whatever. This is not the image that a leader of a country in that situation, especially a leader of a country that constantly talks about helping the worker, fighting the economic war against the Yankee imperialists and the the hoarding capitalists. That's not the image that you want to project. That you stop on the way home from China. You have there's no possible business he could be having in Turkey, which itself is going through a massive economic crisis right now, and they couldn't lend money to Venezuela. So this is basically this shows just how much of a joke President Maduro is as a person. This is not a serious leader. This is not somebody who really wants to address the actual needs of his people. He believes that the office confers upon him luxuries that the average person is not entitled to. Those of you that would say that Donald Trump or even Bill Clinton is not, it would be the same thing. You have to remember that Donald Trump was mega rich before he became president. So he was already enjoying luxury lifestyle. Bill Clinton was also, to a great extent, living a luxury lifestyle as governor of Arkansas. You look at most of these leaders that get into office, they don't necessarily come in claiming that they're a man of the people, etc. Maduro was a bus driver prior to becoming a politician. And now, buses and transit vehicles in Venezuela are basically, they're basically barely able to operate. And he's president and he's flying around the world and dining at 5-star restaurants and whatever, while his country is basically in debt. This is not something where you can claim that there is a moral, there's a moral equivalency between him and just any old leader. if I'm President Macron of France, France is in a much better situation than Venezuela. It would not be out of the ordinary to see Macron eating, some a dead ostrich or something, whatever the fuck they eat in France. Some sort of frog hanging on a jock strap. It's fine. It's fine. We're talking about circumstantial behavior. And in Maduro's case, how can you justify going and eating at a restaurant like this when your country can barely even operate? And indeed, there's more and more evidence now. This is from Lexology. There's more and more evidence that PDVSA is basically unraveling. PDVSA, the Petróleos de Venezuela, which is the state oil company of Venezuela, is basically, it's full of corrupt people who have been hoarding not hoarding, but they've been signing like contracts in exchange for kickbacks for years now, and yet Maduro behaves as if it's everybody's fault besides his. So it says on September 13th, the Department of Justice announced 2 additional guilty pleas in its wide-ranging foreign bribery investigation into payments to officials of Venezuela's state-owned energy company, Petróleos de Venezuela. Juan Carlos Castillo Ricon, a former manager of a Texas-based logistics and freight forwarding company, pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to violate the FCPA in connection with corruptly securing contracts, contract extensions, and favorable contract terms from PDVSA. Castillo pleaded guilty in the Southern District of Texas, as did Jose Orlando Camacho, the PDVSA official who accepted the bribes and whose guilty plea was also unsealed, as now revealed in July 2017. Camacho pleaded guilty under seal to conspiracy to commit money laundering. Both Camacho and Castillo are scheduled to be sentenced in February 2019. Prior scorecard coverage of the PDVSA, so maybe we'll cover that in an extended way a different time. But yes, his oil company the oil company of his country has basically been fleecing the people, taking money in kickbacks for years, and they have this mass hunger in his country, and people are fine. And he goes around the world and he has like steaks and whatever. Yeah, this entire crisis could have been avoided, and he doesn't give a shit. So I understand people are pissed off at the video. I don't think that the right step is to protest that celebrity chef's restaurant. That's about it. Let me know what you think. Please like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to my other channel, Razor Ray Live Wounds, and please comment when this video uploads. And I'll see you guys later. Have a happy Thursday.